What's up guys? Welcome back. Today's video, we're gonna be doing a long trim pompadour on my friend here. As you can see, he's got a lot of length to work with. Before the video, he's expressed to me that he'd like to donate it. So first off, I'm gonna section this all out. Once it's sectioned and we get the pieces of hair removed that he wants to donate, we'll start cutting the pomp. So check it out, man. So I'm just gonna start and I'm gonna do a nice T-part for sectioning purposes. Now that I got this all sectioned out, I'm going to now start in this last section here that I have not sectioned out for the purpose of that's where I'm going to start at. So like I said, the big thing is we're going to be donating this. So I want to make sure that with donations, you typically want the section to be nice and clean like this because it's just how a lot of places prefer to have it. So get my length set out here and then I'm just going to make a nice clean cut. And the same thing here. And the same thing right here. All right, and now we'll get this last one here. That's a quick, easy way to section it and get this all prepped for this trim. So there you have it. There it all is right there. All right, now that we got this debolt, we're now gonna do this long hair trim. The hair at this point is just gonna be all different lengths, just crazy from taking out the sections for the donation. So now I'm just gonna get this all saturated, nice and wet, and start working the hair. All right, now that the hair is all wet, we're gonna begin by doing a horseshoe parting all the way around. And it doesn't matter which side you start on, you can start on your left or right. I'm gonna start on my right here, and just starting right again here from the corner recession, that's where we're gonna begin the parting. The hair should be falling nice and natural. If the hair is not in its natural part, then it won't look like you see here. Just nice and clean and rolling. That's a clean part. All right, same thing on this other side, right off the corner recession here. Okay. Once you have all that hair sectioned out, you're gonna pull it in this nice bundle here. And then I'll just take that bundle and we'll just section this out. This is the top hair. This is the hair that you don't wanna mess with just right away because you gotta get your sides and everything cut first. All right, so now the top is sectioned away from the side and we're gonna begin to cut the sides. I'm gonna do this long trim with clippers just because I like to remind my individuals that I'm teaching is some of the most important things is time. And the thing that's really nice about shear cuts is they have a nice aesthetic look to them, but they're very time consuming. So when you're in an environment that you can't take the time to do the shear work, if you're not super experienced with shear work, for example, then revert to the clipper method. Because if you do this the way I'm about to show you, you can still give it the look and feel of being cut with shears, but with doing it with clippers and saving yourself a lot of time and saving your wrists as well. All right, so again, I'm starting here off my right side. Just like you've seen me do in earlier videos, like we're gonna be building what you call a baseline or a foundation around the head. The foundation is what the premise of the haircut's built on. Think of a house. You're building a house, it has to have a good foundation, or if it's lopsided or crooked, it will throw off the whole entire cut. So very important that you get this right straight from the beginning. Okay, so again, I'm starting out the side here. And I'm gonna pull out to the guide I just created. There's my guide, and I'm gonna cut. And now this is very important that you just pick up as you move along while I'm staying along the parietal ridge and not dropping down too far just yet. So there's my guide again, cut. Guide right there, and I'm just gonna work my way around. Remembering to take your time, let the clippers work, because if you push the clippers through the hair too fast, it'll jam them up and they won't cut right. Okay. Now I've made my way to the back center and I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna check the length and then I'm gonna move to my opposite side and to start this side at the length I've started here. Now this is important. You wanna make sure your lengths are good all throughout the cut because you don't want your lengths to be long here, short here, because again, it'll throw off the balance that we talked about earlier. So pull this out, okay? Feel good about that. I got 1.5 there, 1.5 here, 1.5 here, and then 1.5 here. Perfect. Okay, so got 1.5 all the way around. We'll come over here on the other side and do 1.5. I like to set my guide sometimes if you don't know where you're at and you don't want to sit there and fiddle around the clipper. Bring your 420 comb. 420 combs have a measuring on the comb. See, you got 1 through 7 inches. So if you're ever curious, some people may take utilizing the comb and measuring it as a sign of ineptness, but honestly, it shows that you're actually showing a lot of care and you're taking pride in wanting to make sure that everything's even, and customers appreciate that. So 1.5, I'm gonna set my guide here. That way I have a small guide that I created that can come in with my clippers and just pull out that guide, match right up to it. There's my guide that I created and work my way around here. Now that I'm rounding away to the back, you should connect right up with your back center just right. There it is. All right, again, really important thing to do is check your length. So we know on the right side here to the center back, we got 1.5. We set a guide for 1.5 here, and now we're gonna check and make sure that we're at 1.5 inches here as well. So there we go, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and then 1.5. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is now we gotta create a taper. So imagine this haircut, but being shorter, but like we're doing the same thing, but a grown out version. So super easy. You're just gonna pull it out, and as you're cutting, you're gonna be given a thing, what we call triangular graduation. That means as you work your way down, you're pitching and it's tapering down. That's what's creating that nice taper down. So again, I'm gonna pull out here on my baseline, find my baseline, and I'm creating an angle down. And I'm just doing the same thing all the way down here. And this is my rough cut. When I'm making my way around, I'm gonna come back around and I'm gonna clean this all up. So there's my 1.5. Again, just angling it down, work my way down. All right, and then now that I got to the center back here, I'm gonna kick over here onto my left side and do the same thing. I'm creating that triangular graduation down, and I'm just matching my guide, and I'm slightly tapering it down each time I come in. Okay, from this point, the sides are done, and we're gonna work on the top. We'll come back, like I said before earlier in the tutorial, that this is our rough work. This is our sketch, and we're gonna come back and clean it all up and tie it together, but we're just kind of making the stepping stones for our next step in the process. So here we go. We're gonna move to the top here. The side hair is all cut. Now we're gonna move to the top. Quickest and most easiest way to get this done without, again, spending a whole lot of time doing all the little sections and stuff like that, it's just we're gonna create a guide straight down the center, and I'll connect here in the back to the foundation baseline that we built earlier. So again, when we build this, you'll notice that I'll pick it up and the guide will have a slight bit of an incline. We do that for a reason, because we're compensating for the fringe and dropping down for the crown to connect. All right, make sure that I'm centered. And I'm just following that guide that I created all the way back. Can you see that guide? All right, and then here's my baseline, and we'll just connect it in right there. So you should see from the top of the crown down, there should be like a graduation. So this hair is all standing out like that. You can see how it's got like a nice little angular graduation down all the way down to the nape. That's what you want. That's that triangular graduation that we was talking about earlier. All right, so now the guide has been created. So now I'm gonna start on my right side and then my left side, and then we'll work on the fringe. So starting on my right side here, I'm gonna match my guide that I created. There's my guide. And just follow that guide back all the way. There's my guide. Cool. Now we'll switch over here to the other side. There's my guide. Okay. Now we'll check how the top connects to the crown by just simply pulling out your base and looking. So there's your baseline here, and there's your crown. You got a little bit of an overhang, nothing too crazy. Same thing there. You can sit here and you could go through this whole baseline pulling out little side sections, or you can even do a long section like this and check the baseline as well. Whichever, I like to pull little samples as I'm cutting and just going through. Next thing is, now that I've got the sides cut left and right, I'm gonna flip all this hair over here to his left side, and then we're gonna connect that in and set the fringe length there, and then we'll flip it over and do the same thing again on the right side. So now that all this hair has been flipped over, I'm gonna section the hair from right here in the front of the hair. It's just one nice clean part section all the way up. I'm gonna pull that out to the baseline here that we created, and you can see my base under here, and we're just gonna match that up there. I'm gonna do the same thing again. Now we're gonna work on this fringe here, so I'm gonna bring the fringe down. We'll create a bit of an angle with this fringe as we work our way down. So you can see that I'm giving it a little of an angle. Now we'll do the same thing on this side. Flip this all over here. And again, we're gonna make a nice clean section right there in front of the ear. And we're just gonna pull this out here. There's the baseline underneath. Okay, so now when we set this fringe, again, same thing that we did on the other side, we'll pull it all over here. Starting right there at the front of the ear where we created that little section. We'll start giving it a little bit of an angle for the fringe. Okay, cool. So now that both sides have been cut, the top's been connected, the fringe has been set, the cutting aspect of this is done. But I'm gonna check the angles on the side real quick, and then once we're done, I'm gonna add texture to this, clean up the perimeter, and then we'll get some product added to it and get it all styled up. Again, as you've seen me done in the videos past, I will always work my way through the parietal ridge, and there's always a nice square point there that you gotta remove. Just right here on the corners. You'll see it here, 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 and you want to try to remove that and round it out is what I like to do. Pull it and I kind of just round it out with the shears as I'm cutting. There it is. All right. So now that the top's connected and cut, now we're gonna dry it all up, add some volume to it, and then we're gonna blend it in. And this is that point that I'm gonna show you guys that I was talking about earlier in the video where you can add a lot of nice texture to it and give it just that shear cut look without having to spend the time using shears on it. Get that volumizer all over in there. Okay, cool. All right, now that we got it all dried out, this is gonna be the time you wanna go through and remove any weight, add texture to the cut while it's dried out like it is. I'm gonna start here on the left side here, and I'm just gonna use my texturizing shears, and I'm just gonna work through and add texture. What this does is along the tips of the hair, it's gonna break it up, give it a nice textured, like shattered kind of look to it, which will give it the kind of same feel and look that a shear cut would give it per se. But you're just creating like simulated texture. And this right here along the back nape, I'm just gonna lightly dust that. Same thing, just working my way up. Grab this hair and I'm just gonna pick it up and just add this texture cutting through the top here. Really, you notice I'm just focusing on the ends of the hair. So from that point forward, I'm feeling pretty good about getting this texturized up. As what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna clean up the perimeter of the cut, just kind of add the finishing touches. Now what I like to do on these longer styles is so that hair is not hanging over the ear all weird. I like to kind of clean this up a little bit and just make sure that this hair ain't hanging over the ear. So I'll pull that hair down, just get a little bit of water here, and I like to pull that down a bit and just clean this up a little bit. You don't want to go above that ear, because if it goes above the ear, then it's what we call white walled it. You don't want to white wall them. The goal is to, when you comb this back, that it has a nice comb mark. You can see all them comb lines in there. That's just one of these areas I'm going to focus on. Another one I want to show you guys too is the temple area. That's been kind of a trouble spot for a lot of barbers, is making that a nice transition spot. So what I like to do is I pull that hair down like you just see me doing. I'm going to get my clipper. I'm fully open, and I'm gonna just kind of taper this out just a little bit in this temple area. This gives that cut a nice finished look. Grab my guard here. So we're essentially just tapering the temple area down a little bit. When it doesn't have this all styled up, temple area just isn't all like crazy and sticking up looking. This will help keep it nice and uniform. Got my one guard. Okay. I'm gonna stop the temple right there, and then I'm gonna begin to do the nice line work that we talked about. Bringing this all down, and you might wanna keep a nice natural hook. Don't push in too far. And again, same thing right here, just a nice natural hook. So now the temple area has a nice little tapered area, and it's gonna look a lot better when it's styled up. Show you a little bit. As you notice now, it gives a nice taper for that area. And so we'll do the same thing on the other side. Same thing on the other side here. Just kind of pull that down. If you need to, section out this top so you don't accidentally cut the fringe or bring any of your long hair down from the top. So I got that sectioned out. Again, taking my clipper fully open, and I'm just kind of creating a nice taper down on the temple here. Grab my 1.5 guard. All right, grab my 1 guard here. Now that's tapered again. I'm gonna do the same thing that you guys seen me doing earlier, pulling all this hair over the ear just a little bit so you can make sure that none of this hair is lapping over his ear. This hair type is a little tricky, but we'll get it. Nice, cleaning these edges up here. Do that nice swoosh that we talked about earlier. Just nice, natural. Cool. All right. Now that we got the sides done, you'll want to get this back done. Is what I like to tell people when you're doing the back and you're trying to keep it nice and natural. You don't want to keep it all super tight and squared or rounded. You want it to look natural, like a longer cut would. So I will just kind of pull all this hair down with my comb like you're seeing me do. I just will follow it up to the natural line there. I'm not pushing it back too much. Just some of the points where the hair goes down the neck ways, I'll push it up a little bit. And I'm really just trying to keep this neckline looking clean, or just not clean, but natural. We just want it looking naturally. Cool. So from that point forward, the hair would be ready for product. Now, I'm gonna use a matte product in his hair. And I'm starting with the balls of my finger, and I'm just working it all the way down to the bottom, on the sides, the top, the whole thing. I'm just going to take my widest part of my teeth of the comb, and I'm just going to comb it back. You'll notice that my free hand is always following that comb. All right, I feel really good about that. If you have a piece of hair that's being a little stubborn for you, use your blow dryer. Heat it up, push it down, then cool down the pomade. That helps out a ton. I do it all the time. All right. And just like that, from hippie to warrior.
I like it. Good.
I'm gonna clean up his neck and we'll go from there. Thank you guys. If you like what you've seen today, please subscribe. Give us feedback. We want to hear it. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We want to connect with you guys. And again, we're Black Cat Barber Company, small shop here in Twilla, Utah. Give us a follow on our social media, Black Cat Barber Company, Facebook, the same thing. Really appreciate you taking your time to watch this tonight. Thank you so much. Have a good one. So I better cool down. Yeah.